And a final question now from Team Sutherland.
My question is, if the majority of Americans believe that the Bible specifically prohibits sexual relations between persons of the same gender, and that the laws of nature and of nature's God spoken of in the Declaration of Independence expresses that same belief, are you willing to accept that collective judgment as it manifests itself in public policy, or do you advocate that Utah and American society reject and go against that belief?
First, let's talk about the polls. The polls that are done by Equality Utah, that were done by the Salt Lake Tribune, and that were done by KSL and the Deseret News, all apparently are unprofessional because they all indicate that the majority of Utahns already support the Common Ground Initiative. So this idea that Americans are against fundamental protections for every American is just wrong-headed from the get-go. Second, the idea that the Bible prohibits homosexuality gets into Levitical citations, and again, for example, Leviticus prohibits the consumption of shrimp. It's an abomination in the sign of Leviticus. What's happened throughout history is that certain individuals and small-scale groups have used the Bible in order to justify whatever oppression has happened, whether that was slavery or oppression of women, or for some at the moment, the oppression of people because they are gay or transgender. So the fact that you interpret the Bible that way, Mr. Christensen, does not mean that that's what the Bible says. Now, going back to sexual orientation in every bill, which Mr. Christensen addressed, the insurance policy, the wrongful death amendments, and the joint declarations bill, none of them mention sexual orientation, so I'm glad that your only opposition is sexual orientation. Apparently those bills are all just fine. And the hate crimes bill example, you mentioned that you've helped to fix the hate crimes bill. And yet since you introduced that hate crimes bill that had no specific protections, there have been no prosecutions based on that hate crimes bill. Even when LDS churches were vandalized in the aftermath of Prop 8, the hate crimes bill that you created was defunct.
I would also add, as a member of a religious minority, I would be a little bit careful in going out to the broad public and seeking approval or disapproval for a particular viewpoint or tenet. Because you might find, if we took a poll in Alabama, that the majority of folks might not think that the LDS religion is all it's cracked up to be. This is the risk whenever we try to put religious liberties or civil rights or minority rights to the test of the popular will. It's just really, you know, you got to be careful there, and I would hope that we don't just take referendums on religious questions and religious issues and which religious positions happen to be right or wrong.
I want to second that, and also just add a legal perspective here. It's sort of hard to keep up with all the misstatements of law that are coming across the table. First of all, the idea of translating a biblical interpretation into public policy contradicts the First Amendment. The government cannot establish a religion. To go back to the comment about the Attorney General's argument in California that somehow the people would have no ability to reverse the court. Well, of course, again, here's a distinction between California and Utah. There's a court decision in California that recognizes gay marriage. There isn't one here because we have a constitutional amendment. Sort of reiterating this point. No court has ever struck down a validly enacted constitutional amendment that bans gay marriage. Why? Because they can't strike down constitutional amendments if they were validly enacted. I want to now go back to some very confusing statements about employment law in Utah. It was suggested by Mr. Christensen that anyone can file a complaint when they're fired by their employer. That's true. Nothing will be done if you were fired because you're gay or transgendered, because it's perfectly legal to fire someone in the state of Utah and in 30 states in this country because they're gay, and in 40 states because they're transgendered. Then there was a suggestion that somehow it's unusual to bring the force of law into the workplace. I'm not sure what Mr. Moreau is getting at. It's illegal to fire someone because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, because of their sex. This is the force of law in the workplace, and most of us think that this is a good thing.
30 seconds left. Gentlemen, any?
The studies that were extraordinarily problematic, among other things, don't address lesbianism, which has the lowest transmission rate. And so if we're seeking to stop the spread of disease, only lesbians should be allowed to be intimate.
Tonight I'm going to go home and do laundry. So I'm not sure what gay lifestyle you are talking about. And so the idea of really simplifying people down into a certain lifestyle and describing it I'm not sure if you're talking about addictions or promiscuity or abuse or what you're describing in these certain lifestyles. But the diversity within gay and lesbian bisexual individuals is vast, and pathologizing individuals also harms and perpetuates these behaviors, I suppose.
Thank you. Okay.